Section 4 of Völsungasaga. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Völsungasaga by Anonymous. Translated by Eiríkur Magnusson and William Morris. Section 4, Chapter 12. Now King Xii-xv made for the king's abode, and was minded to take the king's daughter there, but failed herein. For there he found neither wife nor wealth. So he fared through all the realm, and gave his men rule thereover, and now deemed that he had slain all the kin of the Volsungs, and that he need dread them no more from henceforth. Now Hjordis went amidst the slain that night of the battle, and came whereas lay King Sigmund, and asked if he might be healed. But he answered, "Many a man lives after hope has grown little, but my good hap has departed from me. Nor will I suffer myself to be healed, nor wills Odin that I should ever draw a sword again, since this, my sword and his, is broken. Lo now, I have waged war while it was his will." "Not ill would I deem matters," said she, "if thou mightest be healed and avenge my father." The king said, "That is fated for another man. Behold now, thou art great with a man-child. Nourish him well and with good heed, and the child shall be the noblest and most famed of all our kin. And keep well withal the shards of the sword. Thereof shall a goodly sword be made, and it shall be called Gram, and our son shall bear it, and shall work many a great work therewith, even such as eld shall never minish. For his name shall abide and flourish as long as the world shall endure. And let this be enow for thee. But now I grow weary with my wounds, and I will go see our kin that have gone before me." So Hjordis sat over him till he died at the day dawning. And then she looked, and behold, there came many ships sailing to the land. Then she spake to the handmaid, "Let us now change raiment, and be thou called by my name, and say that thou art the king's daughter." And thus they did. But now the Vikings behold the great slaughter of men there, and see where two women fare away thence into the wood. And they deem that some great tidings must have befallen, and they leaped ashore from out their ships. Now the captain of these folks was Alf, son of Hjalprik, king of Denmark, who was sailing with his power along the land. So they came into the field among the slain, and saw how many men lay dead there. Then the king bade go seek for the women, and bring them thither. And they did so. He asked them what women they were. And, little as the thing seems like to be, the bondmaid answered for the twain, telling of the fall of King Sigmund and King Eylimi, and many another great man, and who they were withal who had wrought the deed. Then the king asks if they wotted where the wealth of the king was bestowed. And then says the bondmaid, "It may well be deemed that we know full surely thereof." And therewith she guides them to the place where the treasure lay. And there they found exceeding great wealth, so that men deem they have never seen so many things of price heaped up together in one place. All this they bore to the ships of King Alf, and Hjordis and the bondmaid went with them. Therewith these sail away to their own realm, and talk how that surely on that field had fallen the most renowned of kings. So the king sits by the tiller, but the women abide in the forecastle. But talk he had with the women, and held their counsels of much account. In such wise the king came home to his realm with great wealth, and he himself was a man exceeding goodly to look on. But when he had been but a little while at home, the queen his mother asked him, "Why the fairest of the two women had the fewer rings, and the less worthy attire? I deem," she said, "that she whom ye have held of least account is the noblest of the twain." He answered, "I too have misdoubted me, that she is little like a bondwoman, and when we first met In seemly wise she greeted noble men. Lo now, we will make a trial of the thing. So on a time, as men sat at the drink, the king sat down to talk with the women, and said, In what wise do ye note the wearing of the hours, whenas night grows old, if ye may not see the lights of heaven? Then says the bondwoman, This sign have I, that whenas in my youth I was wont to drink much in the dawn, so now, when I no longer use that manner, I am yet wont to wake up at that very same tide, and by that token do I know thereof. Then the king laughed and said, Ill manners for a king's daughter. And therewith he turned to Hjordis, and asked her even the same question. But she answered, My father erst gave me a little gold ring of such nature that it groweth cold on my finger in the day dawning, and that is the sign that I have to know thereof. The king answered, And now of gold there, where a very bondmaid bore it. But come now, thou hast been long enow hid from me. Yet if thou hadst told me all from the beginning, I would have done to thee as though we had both been one king's children. But better than thy deeds will I deal with thee, for thou shalt be my wife, and due jointure will I pay thee, whenas thou hast borne me a child. She spake therewith, and told out the whole truth about herself. So there was she held in great honour, and deemed the worthiest of women. Chapter 13. The tale tells that Hjordis brought forth a man-child, who was straightly born before King Hjalprik. And then was the king glad thereof, when he saw the keen eyes in the head of him, and he said that few men would be equal to him, or like unto him in any wise. So he was sprinkled with water, and had to name Sigurd, of whom all men speak with one speech, and say that none was ever his like for growth and goodliness. He was brought up in the house of King Hjalprik, in great love and honour. And so it is, that when so all the noblest men and greatest kings are named in the olden tales, Sigurd is ever put before them all, for might and prowess, for high mind and stout heart, wherewith he was far more abundantly gifted than any man of the northern parts of the wide world. So Sigurd waxed in King Hjalprik's house, and there was no child but loved him. Through him was Hjordis betrothed to King Alf, and jointure meted to her. Now Sigurd's foster-father was hight Regin, the son of Hreidmar. He taught him all manner of arts, the chess-play, and the lore of runes, and the talking of many tongues, even as the wont was with kings' sons in those days. But on a day when they were together, Regin asked Sigurd if he knew how much wealth his father had owned, and who had the ward thereof. Sigurd answered, and said that the kings kept the ward thereof. Said Regin, Dost thou trust them all, utterly? Sigurd said, It is seemly that they keep it, till I may do somewhat therewith, for better they wot how to guard it than I do. Another time came Regin to talk to Sigurd, and said, A marvellous thing, truly, that thou must needs be a horse-boy to the kings, and go about like a running knave. Nay, said Sigurd, it is not so, for in all things I have my will, and whatso thing I desire is granted me with good will. Well then, said Regin, ask for a horse of them. Yea, quoth Sigurd, and that shall I have whenso I have need thereof. Thereafter Sigurd went to the king, and the king said, What wilt thou have of us? Then said Sigurd, I would even a horse of thee, for my disport. Then said the king, Choose for thyself a horse, and whatso thing else thou desirest among my matters. So the next day went Sigurd to the wood, and met on the way an old man, long-bearded, that he knew not, who asked him, Whither away? Sigurd said, I am minded to choose me a horse. Come thou, and counsel me thereon. Well then, said he, go we and drive them to the river which is called Bussel.